Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Keith Perhac. I'm founder of SegMetrics. I am here with Justin, who is the co-owner and president of Invisible PPC. We were just kind of talking a little bit before this and saying how difficult it is for me to kind of introduce Justin because he's done so freaking much. But he's been in the game for about 15 years. He was a GM at Digital Marketer, just been marketing, training people on how to market for a decade plus. And we were mentioning one of my favorite things is that he was also the head of growth and acquisition at Teamwork, which was a project management tool that we used back when we were using the agency days. So that always made me happy to hear that. So Justin, thanks so much for joining us and looking forward to going through this.
Oh, dude, yeah, I'm so excited to be here. This is like, just one, I've been a huge fan of, like, when did we actually meet in person? Was at TNC with Dave. Yeah. And I was like a heavy user of SegMetrics at that point too. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so great. And then when you were talking about, hey, we got to do something together. I was like, first step is easy for this type of thing. Let's dive in and start like talking through some fun marketing stuff for your audience. So super.
And we're kind of talking about today the kind of stop signs and kind of the blockers that you get when you go through a marketing funnel and when people start marketing and engaging with. And it's always been frustrating to me how people put up those stop signs at every step, right? Like you have an ad that goes to a page that requires all this extra work. And it's like, no. They already said they wanted to get in. Just let them in. And it's like, this has always been kind of my bugbear. And so I'm really excited to dive into this and get started. Couple of things for people in the chat. We do have a chat. We will be taking questions. If you have questions, just put them in there. I'll be monitoring that as Justin's talking, and then we'll either get to questions at the end if there are questions, or we'll see how everything goes.
Cool. Awesome. So what I'll do is I'll start sharing my screen. Let's see where it's at there. Wait, I should probably do it this way. There we go. Make sure people can see it. All right. If you can throw in the chat real quick, if everybody can see that just fine. If that's the case, then I will get moving. Cool. I'm also wearing the same hat. Normally I mess up and I say I wear the same shirt on the same day as well. So I'm really happy I didn't do that this time around. Again, I'll keep this super quick. Keith already talked about it. And so current president and co-owner of Invisible PPC. That's my LinkedIn. That's my email. That's the one I actually check. It's not the one I give out to not look at. So if you're interested in like connecting, whether it be content oriented questions about this stuff, questions about like how we can help you out, really, if you just want to just shoot the shit, shoot me an email. All right. As Keith said, you may know me from any one of these companies. I've been doing this thing for quite a while, and specifically kind of like living in the agency training world. I've always joked I had one of the hardest jobs in the world. It's marketing to marketers about marketing, which is very hard to do and something that I'm very passionate about and am continuing to do over here at Invisible PPC with not just training, but also doing the work for agencies. What is Invisible PPC? We're done for you white label service only for agencies. We do all the work for you. You maintain the relationship. We just take care of the business, right? We are your fulfillment partner. And we've been doing this for over 10 years. So let's move into it. I guess I've also told myself I'm one of the worst salespeople possible. I could have probably talked a little bit more and shown some clout there, but I really want to get into the content today. I have a lot of stuff to cover, but quick question for everybody here. Pop quiz, hot shots. What's the most important factor in marketing? Right? So what is the most important factor in marketing? And you're going to have a hint. It's pretty much what this entire presentation is about. So if you can throw it in the chat, awesome. If you hate chat, not cool, but I'll pretend you're answering and say, oh, shucks, you all got it wrong. It's momentum, right? Momentum is one of the most overlooked pieces of your marketing, of your marketing initiatives, right? People are so hyper-focused on getting the page out or kind of like capturing the conversions. They don't think through the what's next and the what's next experience. Every team I've ever managed or client I've ever worked with or anything along those lines, this is some of the lowest hanging fruit that you can have as a marketer and as an agency, because everybody puts stop signs in their marketing. Everybody either, and so Keith was talking about like, if they get to a page and you're filling out a lot of information, that's friction, right? So you want to make sure you're getting more conversions there. But then once they fill that thing out, what's your plan? Like, are you the dog that caught the car, or do you have something for them to do next, right? So think momentum. So this is all based off of Cialdini's, persuasion principles, specifically number 4, commitment and consistency. And the thing I really wanted to point out here is, if I can convince you to act in a minor way in relation to something, you're way more likely to act that way again in the future and at a larger scale, right? It's the little asks. It's the little asks that transform and give you really the permission to make some of the larger asks. Okay. Very, very important that you keep that in mind throughout this presentation. So let's talk salami really quickly. And then this is trying to really show the case with, I guess, deli meats. I don't know why I decided to go with this one, but have you ever been to a deli and then they kind of have like the individual slices, or like, oh, can I try that salami there? Can I try that slice of cheese? Next thing you know, if you like it, they're going to be saying, well, how much do you want? Right? They get you in on the early ask. And if you like what you tasted, you're more likely to sign up and buy that whole dang log, right? So in this case, make sure to have those little asks that are, connected to the larger ask. A slice of salami will then turn into the salami stick, right? So here's an example of that. Salami from Saks. I'm not a bougie person. I actually don't really shop here. I get like a credit from my credit card to go there once a year or something, whatever. But I was on there a couple of days ago and I get hit with this pop-up. We've seen all of these pop-ups before, especially when you're coming to a new e-commerce site. Everybody hits you with a sign up for a list, get 10% off. The most basic of basics, right? So I filled this out. 1, I wanted 10% off. 2, I wanted to know what they do next. I was like, I bet they don't have anything. It's just a thank you. And then that's it. I was pleasantly surprised when they did the salami tactic here and they asked if I wanted to, get 10% off. And they said, thank you. Now we need you to create an account, right? Here's your 10% off. Create an account so you can do all these other great things, right? This is an example of momentum. I just ruined my next slide. That's momentum for you right there, right? Smaller ask, larger ask. And then if they take that next step, go into the largest. Buy something from us, right? So that's something to think about. Look at your home pages, your landing pages. Look at what you're doing and what you're putting out there and just sign up for it. Sign up for your own stuff. And then see if you're keeping momentum going, right? I know for a fact there are places where there's a stop sign up. So I keep saying stop signs. I was talking about salami, talking about stop signs. Let me tell you what a stop sign actually is. A stop sign is any step in your marketing, could be an email, thank you page, confirmation modal, whatever, that doesn't introduce the next logical step in your sequence, right? I'm going to say it one more time. A stop sign is any step in your marketing that doesn't introduce the next logical step. If there isn't a next logical step, you're not like, there is no end, is what I'm saying. Like, you may think there is no next step. There's always a next step, right? There's always things for you to do, whether it's introducing to new content, whether it's like adding in an upsell, whatever it is, you want them to consume more, right? You want them to make that next leap. So why do you want to do this? I think, and to me, it's fairly self-explanatory, but the benefits of avoiding stop signs are you can expand your average customer value. That's an easy one. You can capitalize on your return paths, which is the easiest way to sell. And quite honestly, once you have their information and you're getting them to come back and buy again, or you're getting them to make that next step through an automation, you can introduce a new offer or offering. This is key, right? This is a seismic shift in how people think when you're introducing something versus when you're introducing something and reminding them versus introducing cold, right? So, and you can also get further commitments and then create viral loop opportunities. So let's talk about expanding your average customer value. So here's standard funnel I use for literally everything. And I'll show you examples of where I've used it across my entire career after this. But it tends to work like this. You want to break it into gathering info, conversion, increase value, validate, and next offer. That's generally how it works for me. You'll notice that I tend to break things up now into multiple steps. I do like multi-step stuff because, one, retargeting is getting more expensive on all ad platforms, and I want to start building my database. So I do generally take the 1-2 punch with the multi-step form whether it's checkouts or even lead magnets at this point. Most of my lead magnets are still single page, but booking a meeting, I have it as a multi-page step so I can get that information and catch them if they abandon, right? So idea here, gather that information. If they drop out, abandoned cart emails, real simple, or abandoned form emails. If they then take that next step, what is your next option? What are you selling them? If they don't want to take that, you can generally have a downsell. If they do, if you don't need that, this is all optional. Even this entire section is fairly optional. You can just jump into a thank you page if you have nothing else to sell, if you're doing like lead generation. And that's when you can introduce the next step. So let me get out of the abstract a little bit here and talk about, give an example. I'm terribly sorry for how small these are. This was from a promotion that we did when I was running True Conversion. And the whole idea, gather info. Here's the sales page. Step 1 of the cart. They fill in all of their basic information. And it's a lot of information. This is a pure checkout form for a $49 offer. They get the validation there. If they actually bounce out, they're going to get follow-up emails. Then we go into, hey, here's your upsell opportunity. Do you want to go annual? No, actually, this is introducing the full True Conversion suite. Do you want to get that? Yes or no? If they say no, do you want to take a trial? If they say yes, would you like to pay for a year versus just a month? And then the validation and offer here is really just getting them into the application. SaaS was like, get them in, because then you have to get them into like PQL territory. You need to get them using the app, which I'm positive Keith is very similar. The slide's not updated.
Yeah, I think maybe share again. Maybe that will do it.
Okay, let me try that. Sorry about that, everybody.
I've noticed that the sharing platforms, if the image is really close to the other one and it's like just small parts are updating, then it won't notice the update and send it over for some reason. It's really weird.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. And so it might happen again when I show this one. I'm seeing it, at least on mine, that it's updated. Are you seeing?
I see it on mine. Yeah.
Like,
okay, perfect.
Okay. Looks okay. All right. Thanks, Nigel. Here's another example. This was done for Scalable when Roland was launching his Epic campaign. So sales page, if they confirm modal, that's saying give us your basic information, brings them to sales page, right? To the actual checkout page. If they don't check out, you have email campaigns being like, hey, you forgot something. Then it moves into the standard upsells, like 5-step funnel that you've seen done at Digital Marketer, Scalable. Everything you've seen them teach throughout the last 10 years is just in play here. All really, really simple, easy to apply, right? And then finally here, you have validating the offer, setting expectations, making them feel like they made the right choice and getting them involved. So that's generally also setting up even a larger ask there. Similar to how Ryan was doing it for Napkin Challenge years ago, where, VSL, do you want to join? Get in here, toss in some order bumps. Hey, do you want one of our more expensive things? No downsell. Hey, by the way, we have this super expensive thing. Would you like to do it? Real simple. These are all breadcrumbs. We did this at Recess, where this was for, this was a SaaS where it was, hey, like, do you want to send newsletters? Same deal. I do it at IPPC, with like application, book a meeting, jump out. So you can start plugging and playing as you see fit when to make it apply to your model. You don't need to have like massive upsells at every stage. Like, it wouldn't make sense for me to have someone book a meeting and say, hey, would you like to give me $3,000? That's not the logical next step. You want to make sure that each step that you take it's a larger ask, but it's consistent, right? And you don't want to have a monumental swing for the fences. Here's another example of a lead magnet one that we're doing. So landing page, how to sell PPC services to clients. Great. They fill out that. Go here. This is a simple form, simple one-step form. Go here. Great. We set the stage. Thank you. Your access details are on the way. The How to Sell PPC to Clients course is hosted in LearnDash, so letting them know it's hosted somewhere else. In order to get started, go and check your email, and it would have their email address. I just have SaaS there for some reason to confirm and log in, right? Next steps. Now, this is when we're trying to introduce something here. We're saying, okay, now that you've done this, if you need help managing PPC for clients, meet with a partner specialist, get started here, because that is the next thing we want them to do if they take this course, right? Need immediate help, book a call. And that's how we do everything else. So then they get their email immediately that says course access details. It's important with your delivery mails that you don't only just deliver what you said you would, but then you bring this back and remind them, right? You've introduced the concept of a meeting now. Now you're reminding them that they should take that meeting with you. And then you have that in your delivery mail, and then make sure you have an automation that is continuously promoting that over the next period of time, which goes into right here. And so what we're seeing here is just actually the raw numbers from this. So it's a 3 email series. Actually, now it's for this one, it's a 3 email series. For our lead magnets, it's a 5 email series. But in this case, just under 12% of people who take this course are booking a meeting with a sales representative. So this is a really, really solid funnel for us that is just asking them to take that next logical step, right? If we're saying, hey, we want to train you how to sell PPC, by the way, we fulfill it. Would you like to chat? Again, notice how we just continue to keep their momentum of doing that one small thing and ask them to do something bigger, because getting in someone's calendar is a very, very big ask. Cool. All right. So before I jump into capitalizing on return paths, any questions or any kind of thing you want to, Keith, if you want to dive into anything there, or if we got anything from the audience.
Yeah. So anyone who has any questions, please put them in the chat. We'll bring them in. But I actually have 2 questions. One's more of a statement, but the testing your funnels, especially your opt-ins and stuff like that, so many people don't do that. It's we test our opt-in sequence and our sign-up sequence pretty much once a month to see where are the blockers, where are the headaches, where are everything. I find it so valuable because, as you're marketing, you're adding little things on at every point, and suddenly you have 80 steps when you thought you only had 2. Well, are there any things that you've kind of found that have been like super blockers that like you find later on, or I guess like how you identify a stop sign?
Yeah. So the first way that I identify it is once an action's taken, is like, are you making a subsequent ask? Is when I know that there's a stop sign, and that's why you can like earlier on, and where you can get people to kind of commit to some of these smaller, like kind of smaller commitments to like build that momentum. It really comes down to like you're asking for the right amount of information that's in line for kind of like the value, the actual value and the perceived value of whatever they're going for. And then if on that confirmation, or if in that next stage, you're not taking the time to say like, hey, by the way, here's these other things you might be interested in, you're just losing an opportunity when you have them at kind of their most excited, right? A really great question came in from Nigel where he said, hey, is the 2-step checkout process best for momentum? Me about 8 years ago would have said you should never, ever, ever in your right mind ever do a 2-step checkout process. That's changing. Every time I've done it now, like the attrition rate, so the people that go from step 1 to step 2, I believe I on average lose about 5%. And that's if I'm doing bad. The level of kind of like they've already gained a level of momentum in that they took the first step. They're more likely to finish the second step. At Digital Marketer, we actually had this larger scale sequence where there was a 5-question, like kind of almost microsite, and that had a drop off of only 3% across all 5 steps.
I think one thing that's helped out with checkout in specific is form filler. You have to remember 5 years ago, we didn't have really form fillers. Like if you had a 2-step process and the first one was name and address and second was billing, you had to fill that whole thing out. And that was a huge blocker. Yeah. Now I put in my name, everything else is filled out. I just click submit and go on.
Yep. Yeah. No, that was a game changer for sure. Because it was really easy to screw up forms. One of the interesting things I saw is like form filler became more prevalent, and form filler not just for checkouts, even for filling out lead magnets or anything. They have your basic information that they can map to it. One of the tools at True Conversion we had was just the form analyzer. So what it would do is it would say like how long each person spends on each individual field. That was a pretty cool thing to have and useful to be like, hey, we're creating friction with these types of questions, or like, oh, like we're using the wrong keyboard for like email and those things. That fundamentally, that report kind of became useless after a while because everybody uses form filler now. So it's like this unbelievably fast like crawl through on pages. And I mean, that's when you have more web savvy folks, but most people are getting to that range. If you have a target market of folks that don't understand how to, change their browser, they're likely not using form fillers to that degree.
Even my mother uses
yeah.
1Password. So it's like, at this point, I think it's gotten to the first bit is generally not a blocker anymore. You're exactly right. The old, it used to be like every field you added reduced your conversion by like 5%. And I think with auto form fills, it's just not there anymore.
Yep. It's just not there. And then it's also like the landscape we live in now is, you know, like iOS 14.5 did actually change things. Normally, whenever there's like those types of updates, they're like, remember when like I think there's two things in the history of, I think, marketing, and the third is now AI and stuff like that coming out. But in terms from like a marketing and data standpoint, two things that really screwed things up. The first one was the not provided keywords.
I knew you were going to mention that. Like, I was like, that's my number one.
That's it. Like, I remember when that happened and I was like, no way. I can't believe they actually did it. That one hurt a lot. Like the cookie stuff, everybody thought that was doomsday. Everybody. Nothing really changed. I remember iOS 14, when that was happening, I was like, this is going to be a huge nothing burger again. That one actually kind of screwed some things up, especially when it comes to retargeting and like kind of the power you have to kind of do cross-device work and then actually get detailed attribution. So, like, costs for retargeting are more expensive than they've ever been right now. So wouldn't you rather be able to capture some of their details, own that data, and then reach out to them on your own terms? I think so. And so that's why I think, one, form filler making things a hell of a lot easier. And then two, just the current landscape we're in, you need to be able to start building your first party database.
100%. And make sure that you're actually adding that first form to ActiveCampaign or ConvertKit. Because I've worked with a bunch of clients who are like, yeah, we have a two-step. And it's like, where are those leads going? They're like, they just stay there. I'm like, no, that's not the point. Like, that's not helping you. We're using, like, you know, JotForm plugin in WordPress, and it's just there. Awesome, cool. So I'll move on to the next stage here. So capitalizing on return pads, and I think the discussion we had there actually does lead into a lot of the stuff here, and this goes into the two-step cart. So sets of return paths really, it doesn't reduce conversion rates. So wow, we actually moved right in to what I was actually going to be talking about, and the benefits of that. So I don't have to labor that here, but you can see, like, all of this stuff, like with creating an account, like this was a lot of stuff for people to do. But this would essentially start, like, for us, we took this information and spun up a new account once we had this. So all we needed to do then is, if they abandoned out in step 2, we had the account ready for them to come in, and then they were also able to just fill in their details and just pick up where they left off, right? It wasn't forgotten. And you'll notice a few things, and a few key things when you're doing multi-step. Look at this one. Step 1 of 2. You want to make sure people know how many steps are involved. If they're surprised, they're going to leave. There was, this was ages ago. I was doing more, and this was when I was talking more about conversion rate optimization stuff. That was when I was in my split testing days. I was running a workshop for a lot of big companies, and one of them was like a marketing person from Kellogg that was in the room, and they were working on it. They had a landing page set up for one of their main ad campaigns, and it was about how many calories you can save, like switching to Special K or something along those lines. And all of the ads talk about how it was like a quick 5 minutes or quick 1-step thing to do. And I walked through it, and it was like 27 steps. And they're like, why isn't this converting? I was like, well, you're asking way too much information, and you're not consistent with what you were, kind of the expectations you were setting before. So commitment and consistency and momentum only work if you're consistent with the expectations you set up front. So step 1 of 2, right? There should be no more steps than that. There's nothing that someone loves more than spending half an hour answering questions about Super K or Special K.
Like, Special K. And that one was actually hard too, because like you had to, they're like, what's your weight? I was like, screw you, Special K. It's like, don't judge me when I'm literally there to actually have them judge me. So, and then remember here, we're making sure we're introducing kind of what they're buying, where it's a reminder to that as well. So step 1 and 2, remind them what it is. Then make sure when they get here, you have those breadcrumbs. So you want to make sure they're like, hey, I'm in the right place. This is just a standard Stripe form. These convert super well. The email. Oh, don't look at that email. That's my personal one. I guess you can email me. There's, oops, I should have blurred it. But email should carry over. Anything that's a piece of information that was in the previous form, making sure that it carries over into the next one's critical, because you don't want them filling in things twice. But then again, form filling has turned into, it's gotten a lot easier, as Keith kind of shared there. If they don't fill out that second step, here's the exact copy we use for when they left something behind. So we make, and this is done in active campaign. If they submitted step 1 of the form, we added that tag. It would wait for an hour. We'd assume by then they're not going to actually pay us anything. Then we check to see if it still we check to see if it has the tag that they purchased. If not, they get the abandoned email, wait for 7 days, and then see if they purchased. That was about it there. Real simple copy. The subject, you left something behind, something like that, works quite well. Hey, just a few clicks away from getting access. If you're still serious about doing this, still wanting to do this thing, still trying to do X, Y, Z, click here to complete your order, and then make sure that all works out. So how that one came to us, we had a 27% open rate, 7% click rate, 12% click to open rate. And then of the people that clicked through and then it would actually check out, so 73% of the people that clicked purchased, right? The fact of the matter is someone saying no or abandoning something doesn't mean no. It's just not right now. Something else could have happened, right?
That's not a shabby conversion number at all. That is very nice.
No, not at all. It didn't suck. And that was a really great campaign for us. And it was a good self-liquidating offer campaign to get people into the True Conversion platform. And obviously you're never going to have 100%. But that's a pretty dang good one. Similarly, we did the same thing where we cartified all of the stuff at Digital Marketer. I'm pretty sure they still do it to this day. I'm not sure if they still follow this exact sequence. But how we did it was, let me go back one. Hey, here's your cart. It's a 2-stepper. So reminding them what's in it. If they have a coupon code, there's ways to optimize those two where you have that hidden for some things. Do whatever you want. Fill in their information, proceed to payment. Boom, reminder again of what this is. Fill in that information and get gone. Here's the sequence that we did. If they started the checkout but then abandoned it, 3 email sequence sent over 3 days, with the first one coming in an hour later. And this was for a particular sale. So hey, just noticed that you had this. Don't worry, you don't have to add things together. Your cart's been saved. Go check out. Here it is. Subject line was, is everything okay? Day later, forgot something. First name. Yesterday you created a cart for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but haven't checked out yet. Is everything okay? Kind of playing it up, hamming it up there, making sure the goal is click here to complete your order. And then you add in a level of timeliness. And then we also talked about back then when we were in the sale, we would donate some of the proceeds to charity, just reminding people on that. So anything you can do to actually then remind them why they were taking the jump in the first place and started the process, and anything you do to get them to then complete it. How that one worked out here, I don't have the conversion stats, I don't believe, on that one, but the cart abandoned emails, we are seeing, over a 56% open rate on the first one within that hour, just under 40% for mail 2, and then just slightly under that 39 to 38% open. They're a little bit less now, but they're still a decent indicator. Oh yeah, and then cart abandonment conversion, I did have that. Of the people that entered that sequence, 90% of them purchased. So the people that took the time to read through all the sales material, add those to cart, but didn't give us their credit card, 90% of them purchased. It's crazy. And that's the power of the 2-step right there. That is the absolute power of it. So will you lose some people up front? Yes, not as many as you used to, but will you be able to capture more folks that you lose than before? Absolutely. Right. So here's another one. This one actually is the one I'm doing right now at Invisible PPC. So this is for if someone starts setting up a meeting with us. So meeting step 1 is added. We wait for 2 hours if they never actually booked a meeting. And then it's just a quick like, hey, you were so close, still looking to meet. Let's catch up soon. And I do these over a couple, like it's a decent amount of time there because I don't want to be that much of a pest, but I need to start testing different timelines. So any of these things you're seeing here, like if you're like, oh, it's optimal to wait 2 days or 1 day, don't learn that. That's not what I'm trying to tell you. What I'm trying to tell you is you do need to be persistent. What that sequence looks like for you will vary. So test those things out. Don't look at this as like the super easy button. Like, I don't know if 2 days or 1 day works better. I just don't. Some other things you could probably do to mess around with funnels is like, hey, only wait until if you're B2B, only like do a check to see if it's a weekday. when it's within business hours of the recipient. Like there's other things you can do to absolutely like make this thing hum. This is just super basic, and it's kind of in my early stages of trying to prove this thing out. It actually works pretty well. And I'll share some of the stats there too. And so really simple, like saw you took the first step to take time to talk to a member of the team about our management services. If you're still interested, just book below.
One of the things that we've been doing, one of the things that we've been doing, if you get enough traffic going to these things, right where it says the wait 2 hours, we put a split condition in there and then tag each of them. So we'll have 3 versions of this funnel with different times. And right above it, we'll say short delay, medium delay, long delay. And then later we'll go into SegMetrics, look at everyone with the tag that has short delay versus medium versus long delay, check what our conversion rates are.
Oh, that's smart.
Then
that's
I also
really
don't have to make
smart.
7 different automations, which is a pain in the butt.
Oh my gosh. That's the worst. It's so easy to get a dirty closet with automations. I always try to think about like, how can I utilize one automation for as many things as possible in this scenario? Because it's easy.
As soon as ActiveCampaign starts scrolling to the right, you know you've got a little bit overboard, but it gets there quick.
Yes, it does. It really does. And yeah, so and then what we're looking at there, 77% of the people that are in that enter this sequence actually book a meeting. Again, super, super, super powerful. And then email opens as well. Above 50% on all. So that is why when I'm talking about no stop signs, like you need to make sure you have you've built momentum into your follow-up, right? You need to be thinking about that. And then it gets really easy when you are able to do a particular mindset shift. And that's why you need to have, upsell offers, thank you page offers, and those types of things. And this is why, and this is a critical thing that needs to happen. It's so much easier to remind someone of something known than to introduce a brand new concept, right? So say, for instance, like let's do scenario A, scenario B. Scenario A is I sign up for this webinar, right? And then I actually didn't see what the thank you page was for this webinar or what the follow-ups look like there. But what would be nice, so let's say scenario A, I sign up for this webinar and it just say, hey, thanks, like add this to your calendar, another additional micro commitment, which is good. Scenario B, I sign up for this webinar and it says, hey, we're going to be talking about all these things, momentum and marketing. Do you want to make sure you understand how much momentum is impacting your marketing? You should try SegMetrics, right? That is more powerful on that thank you page. And then you're going to get some people clicking it. That's not the point. The point is when Keith starts reaching out to you after you registered for this webinar to be like, hey, here's this recording. By the way, like, I was telling you a little bit about SegMetrics when you signed up. Would you like to give this a shot?
It's planting those seeds. Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. That is a reminder, not a new concept. You don't have to say, here's what SegMetrics is. Now, would you like to try it? You've brought it. You're bringing up something that's known again, and it's unbelievably powerful. Keith, what did you guys do for this anyways? Like, I don't mean to put you on the spot.
It's such a process now. I don't actually know what the actual thank you page and everything does. I set this up as a process a while ago, and then the team kind of runs with it. But you sign up for this. It gives you standard thank you page. I believe all of our pages have a learn more about SegMetrics at the bottom, and then we do immediate follow up, and then 3 to 4 follow-ups after that, but I'm actually not sure. That's something that as we review the video afterwards with the team, that we're going to point this out right now. Let's go look at the note to team. Let's go look at this.
No, let's go take a look. And here's the thing too, you have to be looking at this stuff quarterly, because it's easy for especially when you have thank you page offers, making sure the offer's still viable, relevant, and useful. And the more that you can have a one-to-many relationship when it comes to those thank you pages or those types of things, the better.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of templating and using pieces of templates in other places. So we use Elementor for all of our website stuff.
Yep, same.
I try to have this is our CTA block 1, CTA block 2, CTA block 3, and use them in all the pages. So I know, okay, we just put in CTA and we know what the only CTAs we're offering is. And we try to do it that way, but it's really tough to keep that solid through. I think we have 1,000+ pages on the site. And it's now we have old CTAs. They don't really match with there things we're not offering anymore? The prices are wrong, or like just hunting those down is such a time sink. It's difficult.
It is. At Digital Marketer, what we did there, and I'm doing something similar now at IPPC, we used a tool called Nifty Images, and so what we did was you had a standard CTA that was then it was a standard block, and then in Nifty Images we could say and then we just had that in like all of our blogs and everything there, and we controlled all our CTAs from there, which was pretty useful. I'm doing something similar with Opt-in Monster with their inline ads, and I just have a standard one for now. It's the course, and then I can change things up as like, hey, maybe for our for anything that's talking more about landing pages, like we should have our landing page audit there, and so we can start categorizing based off of that. So you just have the placeholder, and then you kind of you use a different tool. That's been useful for me for hunting things down. It's helped a lot, and that makes it so you don't have any of these weird disparate things.
And I think
popping
one
up.
of the things that a tool like that would help, and I've never used Nifty Images, but just looking at it real quick, like that makes that valuable is the reverse, because what you're generally thinking of is on this page I have this offer, but what you really want to know is I have these 6 offers currently. What pages are they on? It's like, oh crap, it should not be on this page. Or wait a minute, we're not even using that offer. Why is it still showing up on that page? That's
It's offer management, and that's what you need to be thinking of. And I think that's like, I love how you said it's the inverse. Like, don't think of like, hey, I have this blog post. Like, what's the CTA on this blog post? I have these offers. Where should they be distributed? Right. Start with the end in mind, and that's when it gets really easy to avoid stop signs, because you know where you're trying to get them to go. And then you need to figure out like, what are the steps in between to get them
I think this is incredibly important, especially on blog posts, because you have blog posts talking about different things, and you want to make sure that the CTA matches what you're talking about. And sometimes what happens in our case is we don't have a good CTA to match the blog content, but we know we're going to create one. And then we have to go back later and like, okay, we have all these blogs, which ones have which content, and it's a mess.
Yeah. It's a dirty closets all around. That project to do the stuff that we did, like, DM's content, there was so much of it. Just writing that ship was, I wouldn't wish that on like my worst enemy. Maybe I would on my worst enemy, but on like a regular enemy, we'd be like, nah, I don't want to put that onto you. But never fun. Cool. So what you want to have, like, so when you're thinking about, what was I saying here? How you can reintroduce like different concepts. You do that on thank you pages or on your upsell pages. Like the offer types that you can have on thank you pages that work really well. Viral loop offers, so getting them to share if you have like a contest or anything going on. Like those are nice to have there. Like recommend this to a friend, blah blah blah. That's so when you're following up with them, remind them about that, right? If your goal is to have your have this asset turn into a way to generate more referral traffic, that's the way to do that. That's your offer, and that's that's the momentum you need to push across your communications. Then you have next step nurtures. If it's, is it a particular piece of gated content that you want, or is it the next step in your content, like a more detailed webinar, a product demo, anything along, or even booking a meeting at that level? Like, what are those next steps in the e-com world, or really if you're selling products? So if it's on a thank you page for after a sale, that's when you do relevant product offerings, profit maximizer offers, and then the final is like return path offers, which would just be like, hey, I'll show you some examples of those later, but really it's a matter of what do you want to happen on that thank you page. One of the things that still works really well would be, on, especially during checkout, or like order bumps and those types of things. They do a really good job, but you're also making people have to think again about, like, one, you just kind of convince them to part with some level of cash with you, which is hard enough to do. And then now you're saying, hey, by the way, would you also like to buy this other thing? They don't quite know what it is. I always steered clear of those actually for quite a while. I've been proven otherwise, like lately. They've been working quite well from what I've seen from talking with folks at other companies. But what my solution was always is like, hey, why don't you just focus on getting that order right there, and then introduce on the thank you page, like the potential for a, another product purchase, right? And that's what you have like the one-click upsells and those types of things, where you're still kind of in checkout world where they've purchased, you're still able to charge wherever the card is on file for that next upsell, but you're keeping them focused. And that's why those still do work. Thank you page offers still work as well for informing there. So those are different types of offer types you can have. And it's really going to dictate kind of where you are in the overall customer journey, right? So I think everybody's familiar with these types of things in general, but like viral loop, you're trying to get people to promote after they've subscribed or purchased, right? After they've purchased, you want to get them excited again to get them to purchase other things. And then kind of in the subscribe stage here, like how do you turn someone who signed up for something, how do you get them so excited to then buy, right? Really kind of simple approach to thinking about it, but still very, it holds true still today. Yep. So viral loop offer, here's an example. This was from the team at Impact. Like, hey there, you just downloaded this thing. You can download it anytime, email it to a friend. That still surprisingly works there. We did that for several of our offers back in the day. That still works there. Another one here. Here's a next step nurture. Thanks. Check your email for everything we promised. So similar to what I showed you already. While you wait for the materials to arrive, we recommend that you sign up for this Thursday's webinar, right? Next step nurture. And then you can remind them about that webinar in the following emails. Relevant product offers. Hey, thanks for picking this thing up. While you wait, you should probably buy this other thing. This is an old screenshot, but it still works. Like when you're purchasing, this is actually in the funnel of item added to cart, but this is also coming off of that commitment of, hey, you've done this thing, you should also buy others. And then return path, creating an account. Whew. So the other side of things to pay attention to when you're thinking about increasing momentum is that it's not just pages that can be a stop sign. It's the communication you send. It's the emails you send as well. When you send a transactional email, are you only sending things about the transaction? You shouldn't. It's another selling opportunity. Like always be selling in all of these, like your email signatures, that should have stuff in there. Make sure to add in relevant details in any sort of confirmation or delivery to remind people of what the heck they can do with you next. There's a reason why people have these types of, that guy had the coolest name, by the way, too. Elijah Clark Ginsburg, when he was the promotions manager at Inbound. I remember every time I'd always open his emails because it's the best name ever. But hey, they're using their emails as an advertisement, right? You can do that with your confirmation as well. And then you can see like when you have those types of things in your signature, it does get a lot of views. People can see that type of information. Say for instance, you have 70 confirmation emails per day. So 70 lead downloads or 70 purchases or anything like that. That's 25,550 marketing opportunities from your confirmation emails alone. That is a huge opportunity and very much a missed one. And it's not something that like people aren't expecting. Like they're hearing from you're not like shattering a level of expectations or feeling like a used car salesman or anything like that. People do expect to have an additional offering coming in. Like they just do. And then if you truly believe that you can provide value to these folks, it behooves you to make sure you're always trying to get them to that next stage. Another way to get 100,000 more marketing opportunities. Now let's start looking about every email you send. So your email signature. Say you have members of your team, 35 emails a day, 20-person company, work days per year, 252 days. It's 176,400 marketing opportunities from your company's email signatures. So there's stop signs literally everywhere, not just in your marketing, within your operations. Like what can you be doing to make sure that you're always introducing that next step to your client base, no matter where they are and no matter where they come into their relationship with you in their journey. Is that so? Kind of the recap here, swipe the funnel I shared. It still works. I know we're in a flywheel world. That's just another word for funnel. Swipe it. You don't have, don't like just copy completely. Take the aspects that make sense to you at that stage. You don't need to have, upsell one, like an OTO 1, OTO 2, downsell 1. You don't need that. It's useful during the sales process, right? But I will say every time, make sure you validate and have an offer on your thank you page. That is the number one stop sign and the best time to actually capitalize on people getting excited about what you're doing. Make sure you pick your starting point based on the customer journey. What are you trying to achieve? And then ask yourself, what's the end goal? Where do you want them to move to? That's going to dictate how you do this funnel. Gather information as early as humanly possible, right? Don't worry about like friction areas or perceived like breakage in momentum from having a two-step. Use it. Trust me. It's going to help you. Use abandoned cart emails. Swipe the copy. I remember technology is making this way easier too. Like for a long time, I used to be like, everybody should have abandoned cart emails. And at DM, we would train people to do that. We couldn't do it. We didn't have the technical capabilities for quite a while to do it, just in terms of how our products were set up and the tools we were using. So we were limited. Very few people should be limited now in terms of what you're doing. So make sure you're doing that. It's easy to forget about. And then just remember, you're not a pest unless you're being a pest, which is important there. Like if they take the time to add something to the cart or to start something with you, they want to finish that. There was a reason they started doing that, right? There's an absolute
what? The worst part about if you're a pest, they delete the email. Like
exactly.
I have noticed that the people who reach out because we're always afraid of like, oh, someone's going to start screaming at me. The only people who come to screaming, they have other problems, right? It's not your email. Your email might have pushed them over the top, but it's not you, right? Like,
yeah. It's so funny. We used to have folks that would and this was both at Teamwork, this was at DM, especially when you have new folks like in customer care and those things are like, oh my God, like your email. I remember something like, Justin, your email caused this distress and all this other stuff. I was like, hold on. How many of those did you get? I was like, we sent something out to 1 million people.
And 5 people.
You got 5 and they're in all caps, all spelt wrong. Just like, right. I hate you. Da, da, da. It's like, you think that maybe they have something else going on that this is
I still remember we had a problem. This was 7-8 years ago, a long time ago. I don't even think there was a problem. So someone emailed me, one of our customers, just super pissed, absolutely pissed. He's like, you charged my card, blah, blah, blah. Like, and I'm like, oh crap. Did billing, was something wrong with billing? Did they get charged like $100 or $1,000 or something? They weren't like, oh my God, I ran in, I looked at it, it was $1.57. And the guy was all caps, just belligerent about $1.57. And it's like, yeah, we shouldn't, like, he forgot to cancel. Like, okay, we canceled and refunded. Like, but he was just out of his mind. And it's not, you sending the email is not going to be the cause of that.
No. Exactly. And the fact, and we were joking about this even before too, like, and that's why you need to have like multiple like steps to the emails that are going out, because just one won't cut it. This is for promotions, this is for automations, this is for anything. One will never cut it. People can only handle making so many decisions in a day. Keith, you were joking.
9 a.m.
9 a.m. Done. Yeah. So that's why you need to give them the opportunity to make a decision, because most of the time when people are overwhelmed, they just default to ignore, right? And again, if they've interacted with you, is for a reason. Always remember that. If that's one thing to take away from this, like to like justify why you should be promoting more, using automations more, retargeting more, doing all that other stuff, is because there is an absolute reason why they decided to engage.
And I think forcing yourself to realize they started this. They engaged with you first. It's not like you're spamming a bunch of random people.
Yeah, you're not buying a list and being like, hey, I got these pills.
This is someone who started a checkout process with you. And obviously, maybe they forgot, maybe they had something. They want that follow-up. And if they don't, they'll ignore it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And most of the time, I like it when I'm like, oh, sweet. Like, I forgot I was going to buy that. Like, that's still there. I should go buy. I was like, I wonder why that didn't ship yet.
Or a lot of people wait for that 10% discount because they know a lot of places give the 10% discount for abandoned carts.
Yeah, the savvy folks. But the goal here and how you maintain momentum and how you avoid stop signs is to stay top of mind and relevant at each stage of the customer journey. That's it. That's all this is. Again, making smaller asks, slightly larger asks, until you get to that final, like, grandiose part that you were trying to get them to. That's the goal. So if you learn anything, it's that. And then just go take a look and run through your own funnels. Just go do it. It's way too easy to be like, we got that covered. And you're like, oh, that's the email we're sending? Way too easy. Cool. Awesome. Well, that was all I had for you today. If there's any questions coming in, we still got like 9 minutes. We can still chat about
any
cool
questions
stuff
you have in the chat. I just want to say thank you. I mean, this is the stuff that I love talking about and love hearing about, which is those blockers. It is one of the biggest issues in marketing, and it's one of the things that I think is hardest to really overcome, because it's this match of both analytics and psychology of, like, not just, okay, am I following up, but am I following up correctly? Like, what are people thinking, and where are my blockers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And man, I have a new digital marketer on my team right now, and he's getting used to me and how I think about things, which is definitely difficult. But we were talking through just our Facebook ads, right? We're like, okay, here our top of funnel content being, videos and links to blog posts, those middle funnel. What I thought was our course and like our lead magnets in our course, which is like kind of like, I call that like my most bottom middle funnel content I have right now. And then the bottom of the funnel for us is people booking a meeting. How we structured those was the I used all retargeting going to the meeting. We would target folks that have been to the site, been to certain pages and whatnot for our middle of funnel stuff, like have been to the blog or anything like that. We'll also kind of promote like, hey, here's this lead magnet, or here's this course, or here's those things. The course had a crazy high CPA, like stupid high at that stage. Everything else far lower, kind of hovering around between like $7 and $12. I remember when these things used to cost like $2. It's kind of, it hurts, but it's just the reality. And then I was getting no meetings, 0 meetings. And normally I think something's broken then. So first thing I was like, hey, fix it. It's broken. No, it wasn't broken. It just was the wrong offer at that stage. Like asking for a meeting from people who have kind of like checked the site. There's a reason why they hadn't started the booking process. That retargeting, if we had volume, should have been if they started it and then abandoned it. That's the only time I should have been doing it. And I made the mistake of thinking that PPC funnel, I thought that was, a slight ask. Like I was saying, you need to gradually increase the size of the ask you're doing. And the PPC course at that stage was too big of a jump. So what I needed to do was let's shift it. PPC course now. And I don't have stat where we literally did this today. So we'll see how this goes. But now the bottom funnel offer for my ads is going to be my course. All the automations and kind of everything else kind of live on that kind of like getting that 12% take rate. Just let it do its thing. And then everything else is I'm moving like that was mid funnel. It's like we need more standard lead magnets that aren't as big of an ask saying, hey, I want you to sit down for 33 minutes and listen to me talk. Right.
This is it's the sign of a good presentation, I think, and a good training and a good chat. When I come out of this with like 70 to-dos, and like I already have things like, okay, we need to look at this. We need to look at our retargeting. We need to figure out how we're doing. What are our thank yous? I want to look at the was it nifty emails? Yeah, nifty images and stuff like that. Like there's all this stuff now that's like, I kind of want to like screw off for the rest of the day and go into marketing land and just play with that stuff.
No, I'm glad you walked away with stuff, and then it sounds like people had a good time here too. This was super fun, Keith. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Everyone, I guess, yeah, let's close it up. So, everyone, thank you so much for taking the time. We will be sending out a replay, and we'll send that out in an email. And then, unfortunately, as soon as I say bye and turn this off, everyone just gets kicked out. That is a problem with Demio. So, Justin, thank you so much for joining us. And where should people find you, and where can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so definitely go. Here's this. My email, Justin at Invisible PPC. Just shoot me an email. Check me out on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there, more active than I probably should be sometimes, but not active enough to be an influencer. So, whatever.
It's that perfect balance, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. Justin, thank you again. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.